Welcome to Biztech's Technology Show, the show where we feature tech companies across Asia talking about their solutions and how they make a difference in the tech landscape. Today we feature NTT, the global technology company originally from Japan, and how they are using sports not only as a branding exercise, but also to deploy their solutions to enhance operations, performance, and to enhance fans' experience. Now, here to tell us about NTT is Peter Gray, the Senior Vice President, Advanced Technology Group Sport at NTT Limited. Now, welcome to the show, Peter.
Hi, Brian, and thank you for having me.
Now, Peter, perhaps you could start by giving us a helicopter view, really, of what NTT does today.
Almost easier to say what NTT doesn't do, but as you rightly say, NTT is headquartered in Japan and has come out of Japan, but now has a huge global presence and I guess a number of different entities around the world, providing IT services for enterprise and for government around the world, including from network, data centers, security services, all sorts of IT infrastructure services, as well as applications services and digital engagement, digital platforms for businesses all around the world, as I say. So a very significant organisation. And one with presence really in every continent.
And how about in the Asia Pacific regions? What are the key areas of focus?
Yeah, so certainly within Asia Pac, we certainly see the Asian business is very innovative, certainly around that whole space around networking, the migration to cloud, the focus around ensuring that everything is secure and operated securely. But Asian businesses in general are very innovative in the way that they operate, and so I think it's we certainly see that within our organisation. Our Asian business is one of the leading leading parts of our organisation.
Now, Peter, I want to zoom out now and zoom in really on NTT's involvement with sports sponsorship. So pretty much in the last decade, some of the major things that you're involved in right now are IndyCar with the series, as well as with the Chip Ganassi team. You are a major sponsor of the Major League Baseball in the US, as well as cycling. So your cycling partnership with the Tour de France, and also previously a wonderful initiative of promoting cycling from South Africa, and Africa, the African continent as a whole. You sponsored the NTT cycling team. So let's start by you telling us about the IndyCar Series sponsorship.
Yeah, so Brian, I should say with all of our partnerships with different sports around the world, they're all based on a real relationship where we're delivering different technology services, and particularly innovative technology services, primarily focused around how we enhance the fan experience, how we can use data and analytics to really bring that sport forward, or how we can help the operations of those events. But with the IndyCar series, we've been working with them over the last number of years, and that's really been around a number of different things. So from a fan engagement perspective, really bringing to life the IndyCar mobile app and really developing that experience. But at the Indianapolis Speedway, we've made some really huge improvements there with a massive media wall that's fed with data from NTT's analytics platforms, brings to life key race insights live throughout the event, and then we're leveraging NTT's smart platform to help the operators of IndyCar in managing things like crowd volumes and using IoT sensors located all around the venue to understand people movements and to bring together a combination of safety and security requirements. So effectively what we've done there is actually take some of the smart platform technologies that we've developed for smart cities and brought them and deployed them into the stadium environment at the Indianapolis Speedway.
So, and besides the fact, so obviously there's an operational improvement because of the IoT technologies that you're using and the smart cities technologies that you're using. There is also then a fan engagement improvement because of the app and the data that you're able to feed to fans. And so while they're watching in real time, they're basically looking at everything from braking distance to fuel levels that are left and so forth. Because I've watched it and it's very, very compelling entertainment.
It's really about it's about storytelling and helping the fans to really understand and get inside the race. So it's how do you turn this raw data from telemetry data, whether it be on an Indy car or whether it be on a bike, which we'll talk about later. But how do you turn that raw data into something that is meaningful and useful for fans? And so that's something that as NTT we've done a lot of work around that data and analytics space, but also the data storytelling space, and really how do you turn that data into experiences, and bringing a journalist's eye to the data and to the storytelling.
And how does that work out with the Chip Ganassi team? Now, Chip Ganassi is a very, very successful team. How have you continued to contribute to that success, especially with Alex Palau now leading the championship?
Yeah, so really, in that relationship over the years, we've done a lot of work, helping them, particularly in their performance, monitoring and improvement, and brought technologies like Toei, which is a wearable fabric that was developed by NTT R&D in Japan, originally for medical use. But the Toei fabric allows us to measure EMG, so heart, get a heart ECG, but also measure the firing of individual muscles. And so we've been working with the Chip Ganassi racing team, doing things like using that Toei fabric embedded into a race suit to allow them to really understand the performance of the driver and where there's fatigue, and to really assist them in their training and preparation for races.
So that's really at a muscle level. So with those sensors,
Correct.
Basically it's at a muscle level. So then that's going to impact training of the driver, and the personal trainer can then zoom in on specific muscles.
Exactly. You can see which muscles are fatiguing and really start to understand, as you say, what sort of training regime should you put in place so that you can perform at your best on race day.
And how about in Major League Baseball? How is your partnership there materializing in terms of solutions and also benefits for your customers?
So again, with Major League Baseball, we're bringing technology that's been developed by NTT's research and development teams. In this case, it's a solution called Ultrareality viewing, which enables us to take 4K, a series of 4K video feeds, and stitch them together, to create an ultra high definition image. Transfer that in real time so that I can watch this baseball game that might be happening on the other side of the US. I can be maybe watching my home team or my team who are playing an away game in another town, and I can go to a venue with this ultra reality viewing and see on a big screen with high quality audio and ultra high definition image, a screen that immerses me in the game. It's almost like the same experience as being in the stadium yourself. And so, you're basically being able to take people to the stadium, even though they physically can't be there. And so this, the technology there around being able to stitch together these images, to be able to transfer it over NTT's networks in real time, and allow those fans who are not at the stadium to have this immersive experience, certainly opens up the potential for a whole range of different opportunities around the world. Imagine, being on the, down here in Melbourne, watching, we've just been through the Euros. Imagine, being able to watch the Euros final in Wembley as if you were sitting in the stadium, and that's the kind of technology that NTT is bringing to bear. And really, if you look at the role that plays, more broadly, obviously there's a huge opportunity there for sports clubs and governing bodies around the world to create opportunities for fans to get better access to their sport. But also, many of those underpinning technologies in particular around some of those networking capabilities of being able to bring ultra high definition, video, streamed through NTT's networks in real time is becoming more and more critical in so many other business operations, where being real time, being able to operate remotely, being able to put data at the place where the expertise resides, is becoming more and more important as we roll into the world of 5G. I think we'll continue to see that evolve even further.
And Peter, I really see, as you've been describing it, I really see the applications, especially in the post-pandemic world, because essentially we may not be able to travel to the stadiums, so that immersive experience on one hand is going to help us. On the other hand, also in terms of monitoring technologies, I think of, and you're in Australia, and the mining and resources industry is such a big industry. That's going to be a huge boon in terms of helping remote monitoring of the mines in the Pilbara and things like that.
Absolutely, and they're the types of scenarios that NTT is involved in around the world. And again, within our research and development teams, working on new technologies to make that even more real time and immersive. So new networking capabilities. We've been working on a technology called ION, which is around a phonic-based networking solution, which again, is designed to empower the Internet of Things in this highly connected city, or as you say, environments like remote mining sites needing to be operated fully remotely, and where you need high definition, real time information to a control center or to an operator to allow them to operate a mine or mining equipment completely remotely, but do that in a safe, real time and reliable way.
Now let's zoom in on cycling, because the Tour de France is now on. You've been a partner with the Tour de France organization for 7 years.
That's
and
right.
You also previously sponsored a great initiative for the NTT Pro Cycling team, which was to identify riders from Africa. Can we start by telling us how you used NTT's technology to help the small team punch well above their weight?
Yeah, so I guess we kind of see it as in a similar vein to we've all heard the story of Moneyball in baseball, and applying many of those same principles into the cycling world, where essentially we recognised that data was a bit of an underutilized asset in particularly the rider transfer market, and often riders would be seen by the team managers or the director sportifs at particular events, and if they've done well at a particular race, they might get onto the radar of the team directors or the director sportifs. Yeah, what we did was actually we took all of the race results for the last 7 years, and we've been doing this for a number of years, bringing all of that information together and creating rich rider profiles, but also form profiles. And so we work together with the head coach of the team and with the team owner, and really worked on, how do we define, the profiles and the career trajectory of different riders. And we looked at, what were the requirements of the team. Within a cycling team, you need different skill sets in different riders. We looked at things like the performance at different ages, the typical performance of different types of riders at different ages, and did some analysis around that. And then, basically we were able to, looking at the team's needs, work with Doug Ryder, who's the team owner, and almost give him a shopping list of, these are the riders who will best fit the requirements that you have for the team, that they have the right skill sets, they are on a form trajectory that tells us that they're heading in the right direction, and really that gave him a short list of people that he needed to be engaging with and talking to. And so, we really worked with them firstly, around making sure they selected the right riders, but then, doing things like how could they optimize the UCI points that they win. So when you compete in bike races, you get, results give you points that count towards your UCI ranking. And so we worked with them around how could they optimize their best ability to win the most UCI points by choosing the right riders for the right races, or deciding to go to some races and not to others. And then we also, worked on how could they optimize the performance of the riders. And so again, working with the coaching staff, and with some small startup businesses in the athlete performance space, and really bringing together all of the performance data from the athletes, some of which hadn't really been brought together before. Again, using analytics to help us identify and score riders on different attributes, and help the coaches optimize their training and figure out when they were going to be in the best possible condition for racing.
And Peter, one interesting thing I read when I was researching this was how you identified a 30-year-old Australian rider who had never ridden in Europe. He was just riding in the Asian continental circuits, but you identify him through the statistics, and he rode on the world tour.
That's exactly right. And I think that's an example of somebody who's probably been overlooked through the normal process, because a lot of the teams will recruit from Europe. And so if you're riding on the Asian circuit, not the European circuit, you might be a brilliant bike rider, but because you're not being seen by the European teams, you might not get that opportunity. And so it's a great example, I think, of where data democratizes opportunity, and allows you to look in places where you might not have seen before. One of the other innovations that the NTT Pro Cycling team was using was Zwift and the Zwift Academy, which was basically a competition where anyone around the world could join the Zwift Academy, but the winner of that competition was then given a contract to join the development squad of NTT Pro Cycling. And through that program, they identified talent from different parts of the world who are not, who would not necessarily normally get seen by a very European-centric sport. So I think it's just a great example again of where technology and data are giving opportunity to people who are maybe not geographically located in the hotbed of cycling in this instance.
Okay, but Peter, I've got to say though, you've only restricted that to under 23-year-olds, so a lot of us never had a chance.
That's right. Well, you and me, we've that boat sailed, unfortunately.
Now, tell us about how NTT technology is utilized by the Tour de France organization to run the event and also enhance the fan experience?
Yeah, so really what we've been doing with ASO, we began this journey in 2015, and the objective was really to be able to move the race from being purely a television product to something that had a really great digital presence as well, while also continuing to enhance the television product, which, if anybody's watched the Tour de France, I'm sure many people have, the pictures coming from the countryside of France are just, they're beautiful.
Beautiful.
The coverage is incredible. But really, where we needed to start was capturing data, and so we deployed a real-time tracking system, because while this is a global event, it's often very difficult to follow and to understand where riders are, particularly when the race splits apart in the Alps and in the Pyrenees, where the race really gets decided. There can be 30 kilometres between the first rider and the last rider on the road. And so we put IoT trackers onto every single bike, which kind of sounds like a simple thing, but actually is extremely complicated, because you're operating in an environment where there is no mobile network. There's no existing telecommunications capability in these rural areas that the race is going through. And so you really need to. We had to utilize a dedicated network that basically takes the tracking information from those sensors and multiplexes it with the television camera images, and uses the RF transmission path that's used by the television, which is that the data from the trackers goes to gateways on all of the television motorbikes, and from there it's beamed up to an aeroplane that circles above the race, and that consolidates all of the television and radio and data from the race itself. Then there's a dedicated microwave link back to the race finish line, and from there we can access all of that data, and we actually send it via a fiber optic link up into our cloud analytics platform. And once you've got data, you can, and this is true for any business, for any enterprise, once you're capturing data, there are so many things that opens the door for. There are so many things that you can start to do with that data. So when we started in 2015, it was, okay, let's capture some data. And then every year since, we've figured out different ways to be able to really utilize that data, in the live television broadcast, creating digital products like Race Center, which means you can go and see every single detail of the race that's going on the other side of the planet. We can create augmented reality experiences like the 3D race tracker that we launched this year, which means you can create a 3D map of the course, on your table, and follow exactly where the riders are as they ride through those valleys or up that hill, so you start to create all of these new opportunities. We started working with machine learning and artificial intelligence, so we can do things like race predictions, and both pre-stage each day, but also live during the stage with, will the breakaway get caught? What time will the peloton arrive at different locations? And so, every year we just keep on building on that core data foundation and data platform. And I think for most organizations, that's, we know more and more that data is such a critical asset in the way that we run our businesses. But I think this has been a great case study in terms of how data has opened up opportunities for new capabilities and new products. And every time we look at it, we find another opportunity.
Now, final question, and it's cycling related. What does the data tell you that will Mark Cavendish keep the green jersey and beat Eddie Merckx's record? And also, will anyone nick the yellow jersey out of Pogacar?
Well, so it's a bit of an interesting story there. So with Mark Cavendish, when we came into this tour our machine learning predictions did not give Mark Cavendish much of a chance at all.
Okay.
And it, exactly the same as, I guess, many commentators. Most of us didn't think he was going to do that well. But as the race has progressed, our machine has seen his form, and yeah, he is clearly the #1 rated sprinter. So the prediction at the moment is we'll see Mark Cavendish in green at on the Champs-Élysées and taking Eddie Merckx's record. In the general classification with Tadej Pogačar, he is also clearly the machine's favourite. Again, early in the race, it was between himself, Primož Roglič, and Geraint Thomas were the top 3 favourites in terms of our AI predictions. Unfortunately, the other 2 had crashes early in the race, and so Pogačar is now certainly the clear favourite. So I think we're pretty consistent with most commentators on that.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Peter. It's been just an enlightening conversation.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the opportunity.
We've been speaking to Peter Gray, Senior Vice President, Advanced Technology Group Sport at NTT Limited on Biztech's Technology Show. I'm Brian Fernandez. This video will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please subscribe and like our various platforms. Thanks a lot for tuning in.